Imposter syndrome only shows up. Now, I want you to recognize this. Imposter syndrome only shows up just before something amazing is about to happen. It only shows up.
Welcome to the Confident Podcast. I am Lisa Tarkington, your guide to mastering confidence and leadership. As a business and life coach, keynote speaker, and the driving force behind LEAD, I am here to help you break free from self-doubt, silence the imposter syndrome, and step into your power as the person you're meant to be. If you press play today, it's because you're ready for something bigger. Each week, I'll bring you real, raw conversations and actionable insights that will empower you to redefine your leadership, reclaim your confidence, and transform into the unstoppable force you've always known that you could be. This isn't just another podcast. It's a journey we're on together. So buckle up and let's dive into this transformation. Your next level awaits. Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Confident Podcast. I am your host, Lisa Tarkington, and I'm really excited for today's episode. But before we dive into today's conversation, I want to kind of share some things that have been on my heart really recently. So I have had many moments where I have had to push out of my comfort zone. I know I've talked a lot about this with all of you I feel like I'm always getting out of my comfort zone, but in a different way this time where it's not a physical, it's very mental. I've had to do a lot of moments of a lot of mindset shifts. And I think a lot of it has to do with sometimes fear, sometimes imposter syndrome, and just knowing that sometimes you have to get uncomfortable to really move forward and get out of your own mind and your own ways and your own thoughts or experiences from the past. And so I always remind myself that it's very easy to go back to the default. It's very easy to go back to the ways that I've always just, in my comfort zone. But recently I was reading this book and it said, when comfort happens is when you just need to go in. And oh man, that hit me really hard I need to go very uncomfortable for a while, go inward so that I can make changes. And it was a lot of mind shift work that I had to do. And so I know that for me and for many of you guys, we allow sometimes our imposter syndrome and fear to dictate our decisions. I've been there. I'm still working on that. I'm way better and more healthier than I ever have been in those areas, but I'm still working on it. I even have where I want to shift my mindset for the next 4 months before 2025 hits. And I see this every day with my clients too. I see it a lot with my clients. I see it with anybody that I work with. And so it's very challenging, but I promise you it is the most beautiful thing when you can overcome different aspects of your life that are holding you back. Maybe that's fear, maybe that's imposter syndrome, to really become the best person that you can be. We all have our goals and inspirations and aspirations that we want to achieve. And so today's topic is really relevant because we are going to be talking about how imposter syndrome is stopping you from achieving your goals. And I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing this with my friend, Jacob Brown. So Jacob Brown and I have known each other for a few years. I would say more than a few years. We've known each other for about 4 years. And we have been on the journey together of coaching and keynote speaking and trying to figure out this entrepreneurial life together. And in this episode, we really break down areas in our lives where maybe that imposter syndrome came up, how we overcame it, how fear has stopped people from achieving their goals, but what you can do to overcome that and how on the other side of all of those things are the things that you want to achieve. You just have to overcome them. So we're going to be talking about how to do that. We're also going to be sharing some vulnerability with you all because we know that we've been in your shoes, still in your shoes, and we want you to overcome those things so that you can achieve all the goals that you have in front of you. So a little bit about Jacob, because you guys need to know the man behind this because he is so awesome. So Jacob's journey started on the NFL fields. And now he is speaking on international stages. It is really nothing short of amazing. So today he's an experienced entrepreneur, an engaging speaker. He shows up the true power of resilience. And beyond sports and achievements, Jacob is a co-founder of Varlo, a lead branding in cycling and triathlon apparel. And he is a 3-time TEDx speaker. And he's had insights on Wall Street Journal, Good Morning America, and Forbes, which is so amazing. And so I'm so excited for this conversation with Jacob today. it definitely resonated with me. I had chills multiple times while we were chatting, and I hope that all of you guys walking away with at least one thing that you're going to do in your life to overcome that imposter syndrome and fear so that you can reach your full potential. All right. Well, welcome, Jacob, to the Confident Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to be talking to you. So to kick things off, can you share a little bit about your journey that kind of led you to where you are, where now you're eliminating imposter syndrome and kind of getting over fear? Let's start there.
Yeah. So former NFL athlete, went to the University of Central Michigan, fire up chips, went to the NFL for a short period of time, was cut by the Oakland Raiders after a couple months of being through camp, came home, had to find a job, and that's where my fail forward journey started. So those who don't know much about me, my name is Jacob Brown from Bridgeport, Michigan, a small town. I went to college, went to the NFL, and I was a creative director for about 16 years. So I helped lead design teams and development teams for a long period of time. Got to the end of my career, probably around 2018, 2019, and started to realize that I really wanted to dive into speaking, motivating people, encouraging them, coaching and mentoring, right?
Yeah.
And I realized in doing this that most people had this thing called fear, right? They had fear in the back of their mind. They had fear all around them. And often before they did anything remarkable, they always had that imposter, right? That imposter syndrome telling them you're not smart enough, you don't have enough experience, the family you come from doesn't do that. Like all of those voices, right?
Totally.
The voices in the back of your head. And I realized that people needed to find a way to get past that.
Yeah.
Because there was a period of time in my life where I had to put that behind me and move past it. And I realized, Will Smith says, success or happiness is on the other side of fear. Well, a lot of the times that fear is self-brought, right? Or something that might have happened when we were younger. And once we get past that, that's when we experience the beauties in life.
I love that. And also, as you're talking, I'm thinking about all the times and probably the last year where I've had these conversations, right? With myself, with my husband, or in groups. And so I guess let's go back to take us back. You can take us back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever works best for you, of like, when was the time where imposter syndrome, basically you were kind of stuck in the mud, where you were kind of like, I can't move forward. And then how did you or maybe you didn't move forward in that and you had that lesson. So if you want to share any of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll talk about being a keynote speaker, right? Cool. So I did my first keynote probably in 2014. So about 10 years ago. Yeah. And I did my first real keynote around 2017, 18. Okay. And I was afraid that I did not have enough knowledge or stage presence, all of the things. And also one of the things that I was afraid of was that I was just going to be seen as a copycat of other speakers, right? That either looked like me or didn't, right? And I did not want to be seen as someone that was either fake or pretending, right? Yeah. So trying to find what my authentic voice was and to be true to that was a tough thing to do because at the end of the day, I didn't know if that was going to resonate with people or if people would cling on to the things that I had to say, right? The stories I told, the experience that I had, or if I had enough experience, right? If I had read enough books, if I had been on enough podcasts, all of those things. And I remember there was a point in my career of speaking where I stepped on stage and someone came up to me afterwards and they said, "What you said changed my life today." And I remember in that moment, I said, if I can only touch one person, no matter what I do, right? If I could touch one person out of 1,000, out of 2,000, out of 500, right? Out of 50, if I can at least reach one of them, then I've done my job. Yeah. And that's when I've kind of got past the imposter syndrome because I noticed that even though I was fearful before stepping on stage, before I get in front of a group, there was someone in the audience that needed to hear what I had to say. And that's all I needed.
Yeah. Well, and I'm assuming as you were going through all of this, it was kind of like as much as you move forward, there are probably a lot of back pedals, right? Like,
Yes.
am I going to actually do this? Okay, what's the heart racing? Like I'm picturing the hands sweating,
Yep.
right? Like all of the feelings that come with the imposter syndrome that I think everybody listening has, and that fear that stops us. So I'm assuming that you wanted it so badly you didn't let that happen. But
Yeah.
how did you get to that point where you're like, I want to be a keynote speaker. I might not have all of these things, but I'm still going to step on stage, because I think that that's still very paralyzing for people, to be honest with you. They are fearful. So they're like, I want to be a keynote, or I want to become a leader. But you know what? I'm too scared.
Yeah. Yeah. My motto and mantra is fail forward,
Yeah.
right? John Maxwell wrote a book back in 2000 called Failing Forward. I heard about failing forward in 2006, right before I went to the NFL, where my aunt asked me the question, Jake, what happens if football doesn't work out? And I'm 22 years old. I'm 6'3", 220 pounds. I was an athlete. I was a freaking beast. And I never saw my life without football.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if football doesn't work out, I'll just fall back on what I was getting my degree in, graphic or web design. And she said, Jake, if you ever fail or fall, always fall or fail forward. And in football, we're taught, when you're running the ball and you get tackled, to fall forward because you gain extra yards. Well, what I had learned is that throughout my life, failed businesses, failed relationships, failed friendships, failed jobs, every time I went through a fail moment, I learned that I took something from that experience.
Yeah.
And the next time I tried something, I was more knowledgeable, I was more experienced, and I was more confident. When I look back at some of my early talks, I sucked.
I feel you on that, right?
I absolutely sucked at talking. I was always looking at my PowerPoint, and I had too many words on all the things, the things that you don't know when you're getting into keynote speaking, public speaking. But the more that I stepped on stage, I got past the sucking and learned.
Yeah.
And when I started to get positive feedback from people, I knew that I was on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when that fear, that imposter started to fade away a little bit. But I'm here to tell you, I've been speaking for 10 years. Every time I step on stage, I always have a voice that comes.
Totally.
Right before I step on stage and say, Jake, do you really know what you're doing? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you really prepared? Do you know this audience? Do you have enough education? All of those things come. But one thing that I've recognized, and for those that are listening, I want you to understand this. This is what I've learned in my career, in my life. Imposter syndrome only shows up. And I want you to recognize this. Imposter syndrome only shows up just before something amazing is about to happen. It only shows up. If you're already down in the dumps and you suck, you're not getting imposter syndrome. It's only right before you take that big test, before you sign up for college courses, before you apply for that job, before you go and ask that boyfriend or girlfriend, for their hand in marriage, whatever it is, that's when it shows up. Because it knows that if it can talk you out of it, it can win. 100%. But one thing that I've learned is that if you push past that voice and push past the fear that it's trying to bring you, on the other side is something remarkable. And that's what I've experienced. So actually, when the imposter shows up, you should get excited, because what's on the other side is only better than what you've come from.
Amen. I will tell you though, but right? I can say amen and also be like, yep, have that feeling. Well, and it's intriguing because even I teach this stuff. So do you. And we still feel it. But I think the difference is now we have the tools and skills to take care of it. And that's actually what we teach a lot on this podcast. Recently we were talking all about how to become a confident leader. I was doing a whole workshop on it. And imposter syndrome continued to come up for people. The other thing that you said earlier about I don't want to mirror everybody else.
Yeah.
I want to be me. And so funny that you say that. Yesterday I had a conversation with someone and they were like, Lisa, you're very polished. And I looked at them and they're like, but when you're with friends having coffee, are you polished? And I was like, no. And they're like, exactly. But the people that you look up to aren't always polished. So it's finding this rhythm, right? I'm not going to grab coffee with someone that's super polished. I'm going because I'm like, tell me your soul, tell me the good, tell me the bad. I want to cheer you on. I love them for them.
Yes.
So why? So I think it kind of goes back to fear, and it goes back to the imposter syndrome of why aren't we authentic all the time? Like, what's holding us back from that?
You hit the nail right on the head. Some of my favorite people that I follow and that I model some of my movements after, Mel Robbins.
Love her.
Mel couldn't be more authentic.
I know.
She takes videos in bed.
I know.
From her phone in pajamas and doesn't care, right? For a long period of time, she was jumping in her ice bath and she was telling you, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? But often as content creators, we're so worried about it being perfect and the audio being great and the 4K clarity, all of that. And then you look at the people you look up to and they don't care.
Yeah.
They're showing their true, authentic self, right?
Yeah.
Very controversial guy, Gary Vee. Right?
But like, couldn't be more incredible.
Couldn't be more incredible. Couldn't be more
very
authentic.
Controversial in so many ways.
Very controversial, right? Dropping F-bombs at middle schools.
Yes, exactly.
But he's true to himself.
Totally.
Tony Robbins, Simon Sinek, all of those people that we look up to and we envy where they are and how they've gotten there. And you look at them. And I remember, I'll never forget, it was about 2 years ago. And I heard a guy speak, Nick Vujicic. He is the speaker from Australia with no arms and no legs.
Okay, yep.
He has no arms and no legs. Yeah, I watched him grace the stage like no one I've ever seen. Wow. And the thing that I really took from it, and I'm standing next to one of my good speaking buddies, Paul Epstein. Paul's out of LA and he's a phenomenal speaker and author. And as he's speaking, Paul looks over at me and he says, one thing that I'm taking from this is how authentic and just raw Nick is. Now, Nick is about 40-some years old. He's done over 3,500 keynotes all over the world. Multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Owns a massive compound in Dallas. And he's getting ready to retire from speaking, because now he wants to help motivate and encourage other people to do that. But as I'm watching Nick with no arms and no legs walk across the stage with so much personality and spunk and truth.
Yeah.
And then Paul looks over at me and he tells me, one thing that I'm taking away is that it's okay to be me. And that's when I was like, you know what? You dang straight.
Yeah, exactly.
The next time I step on stage, you will get Jake Brown fully, right?
Yeah.
And the more I did that, the more empowered I felt and the more free I felt, right?
Yes.
And I think more people need to experience those moments where they understand their authenticity is what people want.
Totally. Well, and it's funny that you say all of that, because I love to be my personal self, but I come from corporate, right?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
very polished. So I'm still finding that medium, right? A little bit, because I do believe, like, I'm like, I watch some people, I'm like, oh my God, I love how polished they are, but they're still them. So I do believe both can be true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In those viewpoints. But I always say, like, now that I've thought about what I want to be, I now share more stories than ever. And the other day I did a keynote and the head nods, I was like, oh, okay, vulnerability, right? Like, I teach this stuff. I got to share more of that stuff, because that's what people relate to.
Absolutely.
The stories that I look on social media or look into, it's, oh, they went through this. Okay, now look at them. They got through it. That's like back to fear. They overcame that fear. And I'm going to go back to the other thing that you said, where it's like, once I did one thing and had failure.
Yes.
The next one wasn't as hard. And I had a meeting earlier today where someone was starting out their business.
Yeah.
And they were like, Lisa, I don't know how you did it. And I was like, they're like, you look so fearless. And I'm like, I'm glad that you think that. And I was like, I'll just be honest. I will say, but once you overcome that fear once, the next one's easier, but they're just bigger now, right? And so it's like, how do you take those steps moving forward? And kind of going back to all of that, I'm going to go to the question of confidence.
Yeah.
So all of this has to do with confidence. It's about believing in your skills and your abilities. So everybody always gets confused. Self-esteem is around your worth and confidence is around skills and abilities. So I always like to remind people of that. So confidence. So people lack confidence in themselves. They lack it believing in themselves. But you said, I used to suck on stage, but I didn't give up.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's the difference. And so, like, when someone's lacking confidence, where should they start? In your mind.
Yeah. So one thing that I tell people all the time is, listen, there's no reason to fear when you fail, because you've survived 100% of your bad days, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you've lost a job, anytime you've lost a family member, Lord forbid, anytime you've lost a spouse, right? Whether it's a divorce or whatnot, you're still here, you're still standing, right? So whatever it was that tried to hurt you, you were stronger than.
Yeah.
Right? So first of all, understand where you are now. You're stronger than whatever tried to take you out.
Totally.
You're here,
Yeah.
right? So in itself, you should have confidence, right? Now, the word confidence, the root word of confidence is confide. Now, what does it mean to confide, right? To trust,
Yep.
right? And dense, right, is self, right? So when you have confidence, that means you trust in yourself. And if you know that you've trained, if you know you've read the books, watched the tutorials, if you know you've gone through hell and back and you're still standing here, you should be able to trust yourself, right? When I step on stage now, I can look back, and there's a huge difference between confidence and cockiness,
100%.
right?
But please should explain that to our audience, because I think that that's the big trick for people is they get hung up on, I don't want to be cocky.
I don't want to be cocky.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want
Yeah.
to be cocky. I don't want to be arrogant. I don't want to come off as that. So I'm actually going to make myself smaller so that other people feel comfortable.
Yes. Yes. Love.
That is the exact opposite of confidence.
Totally.
Right? Being confident is just believing in yourself and in your training and in all of the things that you've done prior to, right? So when I step on stage, people say, "Oh, you stepped on very confident. You graced the stage. You commanded the room." Well, it's not because I'm not fearful, and it's not that I didn't have imposter syndrome. It's just that in the past, I've known how to do it and what it's taken me to get here. So I can step on stage confidently because I'm confident in my message, because I know it's true and authentic, right?
Yes.
One of the things my mom used to always say is that you never have to remember the truth.
Yeah.
You have to remember a lie, but you never have to remember the truth. And when you're telling a story, and I coach my speaking clients on this all the time, when you're telling a story that's true, you don't need notes or cue cards.
Yes.
Because it's in here, and it's in here. So you can tell it authentically, even if it's not the same way every time, it's still your story, right? So I know when I step on stage, I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell stories that I love, right? That also support my story and support some of the opinions that I'm going to give, right? So when people don't have confidence, they have to step back and say, how did I get to the point in the place I'm at? Do I trust myself? Have I done the studying and the training and the reading and the learning that I know I should? And if so, I should confide in myself and trust in my abilities.
Love that. Love that. And I also think what's coming up for me when you say that is we recently talked on the podcast about how some of us are really great planners.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But it's the action that comes after that. Yeah. And so like you can I always am big on continuous learning. Like I don't think I'll ever stop learning, but when does it come where, okay, I know enough about this where I don't need to take massive things. I need to trust myself. Right. Yeah. And that's the difference in belief. And the other day we had a conversation with someone. I was like, everything he's telling me, I already know.
Yeah.
And my teammate goes, that's because you do. Why are you trying to go to someone else when you know it all in? And we laugh about that because it's like, you're right. Like I'm really great at planning sometimes, right? But it's the action. It's the stepping on the stage, not saying like, okay, like it's important to have the best keynote that you can. But the real step is getting on stage and doing something about it.
Absolutely. Analysis paralysis kills so many dreams. There's so many people that plan and never take the action.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about manifesting, right? Manifesting is thinking an idea, believing it can be true, taking action to make it true, but ultimately expecting it to be true, right?
Yeah.
Having that trust, having that belief that it's actually going to happen. And, even from this podcast, you had an idea, you took action, you found your way to it, and it's an amazing podcast. And it's only because you took that first step and trusted your experience that you've had up until that point.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know about you, but as you were saying that, I was literally thinking about like when I took the leaps, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like,
Yep.
and I'm laughing inside being like, I had a plan, but like, who thought I could like, right? Like I didn't overthink it.
Right.
And I think that that's the difference sometimes when I make decisions is I've thought of every scenario, overthought it where, I literally said this yesterday to someone in a keynote. I said, you can literally give yourself logic to every question or every answer and be like, see, this is why I can't do it.
Exactly.
And I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming everybody does that, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's where we get caught up in this like, well, I have too much fear or all of these things. And so when that fear still comes up for you, what do you do?
When that fear comes up for me, I do two things. And you just mentioned it, right? You either find a way or you find excuses. There is no in between.
Yeah.
You find a way or you find excuses. And, you know, I'm always a big proponent of learning to know when to say no, right? And when to say it's time to quit and move on, right? Maybe this wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
What did I learn from this?
Yeah.
And move on, right? And that's okay. Giving yourself permission that it's okay that things don't always have to work. I was talking to my son the other day. He's 17. And I was letting him know, I said, Caden, if you think about some of the moguls that you know, right? Some of the things they've started. And for a while, it was really good, right? It was all on MTV. It was on Shark Tank. And it was great for like 2 or 3 years. And then it kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
Right? But that idea never left. And they moved to something else. I said, that should give you the opportunity and the permission that everything doesn't have to last forever. It can last for moments in time, right?
Yeah.
Even if you think of the greatest presidents of the United States, they only served in the history of the United States for 4 to 8 years.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? But that doesn't mean the impact doesn't carry, right? So that's something that I am trying to give myself permission for, right? Is even if something doesn't work, I tried, I can say I tried, and I learned from it.
Yeah. Change is hard.
Yes.
Change is really hard and it's scary. And what you're saying too is like, I am thinking back to my 20s where I made lots of decisions that I was like, oh man, what was I thinking? But I let go of relationships that didn't serve me anymore.
Yes.
Like I had that fear of like, what if I'm never with this person forever, right? Well, then I wouldn't have my husband.
Exactly.
Right? If I would have stayed in the corporate world and just hung on just a little bit longer, we wouldn't be sitting here today, right?
Exactly.
And so like what I'd love for the audience to think about is like, when is a moment that you let go of something and then what happened?
Yes.
Right? Because that's when you can really check yourself and realize, oh my gosh, I did overcome fear.
Yes.
Those little things that kind of stick into our head. I don't know if you have anything else with that.
I do. One thing that helps me and helps other people overcome fear, there's a short story, and I know you might have heard this, but the old Chinese farmer that once lost his horse. And all the villagers came around. They said, we're so sorry, that's bad fortune. And the Chinese farmer simply replied, maybe. The next day, the Chinese farmer's horse returned with 7 wild horses. All the villagers came around. They said, that's great fortune, isn't it? He says, maybe. The next day, the Chinese farmer's son takes out one of the wild horses to try to tame it. He's thrown off the horse's back, breaks his leg. All the villagers come around. You know what they said. That's bad fortune, isn't it? To which the Chinese farmer simply replied, maybe. The next day, the Chinese emperor ordered all able-bodied men to go to war because they were going to war with a neighboring country. In that war, many men were killed and many were maimed. But the Chinese farmer's son was saved because his leg was broken and he couldn't fight. All the villagers came around and they said, you know, that's great fortune, your son was saved. To which the Chinese farmer simply replied, maybe. In China, whenever anything bad happens, they always say, Sai Wing Shi Ma. Sai Wing Shi Ma means remember the old man that once lost his horse. Because the old Chinese farmer that lost his horse understood something. Sometimes good things are going to happen to you, but they come with a blessing or come with a curse. And sometimes bad things happen, but they come with a blessing. He understood that life was not happening to him, so he never had to fear. He understood it wasn't happening to him, but it was actually happening for him. Right?
I got chills listening to that again. I knew the story, but like, man, it gets me every time.
So as you go through your life and you're fearful about certain things, understand that even if it's bad or even if it's good, it's happening for you.
Yeah.
And ultimately for your good.
Yeah, and you made me think of 2 things. we are really good at playing victim mindset.
Oh, yeah.
I could tell you all the things happening to me, right? Like I can play victim really easy. Who can't, right? But when you flip that mindset and you change that, I will tell anybody your life is completely in a more healthier, positive way when you get out of that victim mindset. It also helps with your imposter syndrome. It helps you with fear. It helps you with all of those things. And, I shouldn't say recently, about 6 months ago, I was going through some changes and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
Like had this moment, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And called up my coaching friend because we all help each other out, give each other advice. And she goes, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Wow.
And I was like, everything I've built could fall apart.
Yeah.
And she was like, what's the best thing that could happen? I was like, we just rock it. I'm like, have all these things. She goes, okay, so what's really going to happen?
Wow.
And so then it was that moment of like, okay, let's be realistic. Let's not go. Like, it's so easy for our minds to tell ourselves all these stories of all the bad that's going to happen.
Yep.
But like, I'm not going to let that happen. Right? Like I remember during COVID, I had left my job, was doing my nonprofit full time. And I was like, what did you just do? Like like the world shut down. And my mom said to me on the phone, what are you going to do? And I was like, and I just sobbed. And I said, I can't give this up. This is too important. She goes, okay, find a way. And I did. Right. But like, that's the difference where like, I wanted to.
Yeah.
But like worst case, I had to move back in with my parents, right?
Worst case.
Okay, worst case. Like I still have people that love me that would have taken me in, right? I'm very blessed for that. Best case, it rocks it. Okay, what really is going to be like, I'm going to have to grind for a little bit longer. And guess what? That's actually what was real, right? And so I like love to remind myself that because it's like, how do you do worst case, best case scenario when you're having fear to be like, okay, what's really going to happen? Which is tough.
Yeah. One guy that I watch, his name is Myron Golden. I watch and listen to him all the time. He's an absolutely incredible speaker, and he has a huge podcast. He's doing videos and lives all the time on YouTube. If you haven't heard of him, it's Myron Golden. Okay, cool. Please check him out. But one thing that he says is that he does not allow himself even the opportunity to think anything outside of success.
Ooh.
He won't even allow himself to think a bad scenario, right?
Good for him. That's
even
amazing.
if it happens, he manifests the things that he wants. Now, it doesn't always happen or work the way that he hoped for, but he doesn't allow his mind to even think or go to, well, what if it doesn't work, right? Yeah. And we have that opportunity. We can have that opportunity. One of my favorite speakers is Chris Gardner, who the movie The Pursuit of Happiness was about. And my favorite quote is, speak what you seek until you see what you've said, right? You and I have known each other for years, and we both have talked about the things that we want to do in our lives.
Totally.
We've talked about those things. We've put those things into action. And guess what? Both of us are doing them.
Yeah, which is insane when you look back and you're like, how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
How am I going to climb that tree? And we're like sitting here together right now. And like, we kind of are starting to climb it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not easy.
No.
We've had to grind, but we've spoken the things that we sought, and we're going after them. And if anyone doesn't hear anything else, if there's something you want in this life, you have to speak it, you have to seek it, and you have to expect it.
Yeah, I love that. And, I'm going to go back to a moment. It was 2 years ago. I had a rough day, and I remember calling you and saying like, oh man, this was tough. I don't know if that workshop went well. And you had gone through, we were able to relate on a few different things. And I don't think people realize, like, when you can relate to someone else who's also on a track that you're going to, it's like, oh, you feel that way too, right? It kind of takes that fear down a little bit because you're like, everybody's human.
Everyone is human.
Everybody's putting their pants on the same way, right? Like, everybody's going through it. And so that actually, like, not that I wish that upon anybody, but it's like, we're all figuring it out together, right? And so to kind of like wrap up today, what is the things like, you shared that a little bit of what you'd want someone to know, but like, is there anything else you would leave the audience with today?
I would say exactly what you just said. If you follow me anywhere, my title behind my name is human being, Because one thing that I've realized is that no matter how high I climb the ladder in corporate America, no matter how many stages I step on, no matter, how much money I make, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I just want to be a good human being.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've learned is that all human beings, no matter how high they are, no matter what their title is, they all have the same fears, right? We all have that same fear of not feeling good enough, not being accepted, messing up or stumbling over our words. Everyone you come in contact with, I don't care who they are, they struggle with those thoughts. And they also struggle with imposter syndrome, right?
Yep.
So some of the tools we've given you guys today, I want you to understand that we're working those tools. Those people you might look up to are also working those tools because they too are susceptible to fear, imposter syndrome, not feeling good enough, and feeling as though they might either mess up or miss the mark. So just know that they're human too. They put their pants on one leg at a time.
Yep.
They bleed and they cry. They think just like you do.
Amen. And so how can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yep. If you want to find me, I'm official Jake Brown on Instagram. My website is failforwardbrown.com. And my phone number is 248-805-6093. If you want to text or call me, I am here and I'm willing to serve.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jacob, for being on the podcast. I just love chatting with you. And so thanks for all you do for others.
Thank you as well, Lisa. I hope you have a great day. And thanks again for bringing me.
Yeah, thanks. So thanks so much for tuning into the Confident Podcast today. It was such an amazing opportunity to talk about imposter syndrome and overcoming fear, and your support means the world to me. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please DM me at the Confident Podcast on Instagram to let me know what you thought of it, and make sure that you have subscribed to our YouTube channel to stay updated. If today also resonated with you and you want to go deeper, please reach out to me. I'd love to support you on your journey. I know that imposter syndrome comes up a lot. I know that fear, failure, fear of success, all of these different fears can really stop us from moving forward. And so that's where I come in to support you on your journey. Please DM me, please email me at lisa@leadconfidently.org. And in any way, also you can connect with me on LinkedIn because I want to make sure that you know that you are supported on your journey. So let's overcome imposter syndrome and the fear of failure or fear in general. Let's overcome those things together. And like I always say at the end of any podcast, continue to spread love and kindness to everybody that you meet, and that includes yourself. Thank you, and have a great day. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Confident Podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, head over to leadconfidently.org for today's show notes along with discounts to our services. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at The Confident Podcast. Your feedback means the world to me, and it helps more people discover the show. And hey, if you're feeling inspired to dive deeper, let's connect. You can find me on Instagram at Lisa Tarkington Official. Drop me a message and let's explore how I can support your journey to confidence and leadership. Remember, you have the power to choose confidence every single day. Keep showing up, keep striving, and keep believing in your potential. I'm cheering you on, and I'll see you next time.